Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm super excited that today I got to host on the Skinny Wrap Me team page for our hashtag 12 Days of Leadership that actually ended up being the entire month of leadership. And you guys definitely give Rhonda your input if this is something you would like to see continue. I got a lot out of it. I think it's so great that we get to share so many different, because we're all so different and we all have different styles and we all connect differently with different people. And I think it's really cool that we all get a chance to hear a little bit from a lot of different people. I get really great tips from my fellow leaders, and I hope that you guys are getting a lot out of this too. And you should be able to, most of us added the hashtag 12 Days of Leadership. So you can search on the page that hashtag and it'll pull up everybody that did use that hashtag. And I'm hoping that any of the leaders who may have forgotten or didn't use that hashtag will jump back on and pull theirs up and add that hashtag. So I wanted to talk a little bit about a really important topic, but first I just realized that it is the 21st today. And today is the day, and I haven't seen anything about it, so maybe it's not gotten rolled out quite yet, but today was the day that we were supposed to be getting granted access to be able to assist our personally enrolled and placed customers. So I just logged into eSuite. I haven't seen it yet. But as soon as it's actually live, you will be able to log into eSuite, go to reports, and you'll see a new report that reads Edit Loyal Customer. And it's going to give you a list of loyal customers that have given you access to their accounts and what permissions that they have given you. This is so exciting to me because I know if you guys are like me, you have customers who maybe it's a parent, maybe it's a grandparent, maybe it's an elderly uncle who doesn't have internet, who has no way to monitor or update their account. So now we have legal permission from those people as soon as they log in and check those boxes and enter our information to be able to adjust and make changes to those accounts. So that's super exciting. So has anybody logged in and seen that in theirs yet? I'm thinking it just hasn't quite gone live yet. So be watching for that very soon. So I don't want to complain, but I'm not being negative, I promise. But how many of you have done this or seen others? I know you absolutely, if you live on Earth and you're a human, you've complained or you've seen somebody complain. I tell you, my news feed used to be filled with a whole lot of whining, complaining, and negativity. Now I'm very much more proactive about it, and you're going to get yourself unfriended, blocked, or unfollowed if you're that type of person that's constantly, woe is me, oh my gosh, what else could go wrong? Does that drive you guys as crazy as me? Yeah. And because of It Works and other businesses that I've been involved in, I've been made aware for many, many years how really, really important it is to guard ourselves from negativity, but more importantly, to guard our brains from ourselves, sort of. And negativity and complaining are not only bad for business, they're bad for your health. And I wanted to share this with you because I saw this article. Somebody had posted it on Facebook a while ago, and I happened to read it, and it really struck a chord with me because the world is so filled with negative. I absolutely love our It Works family because we're not that way. We strive to be more and better and different and not follow the crowd in the whining, complaining, and nonsense department. So I found this article to be very interesting, and I didn't realize this. So research shows that most people complain once a minute during a typical conversation. Is that crazy? Now that I learned a while ago, once you know something, you can't unknow it. So I'm hoping that this information that you're going to get tonight is going to be kind of at the forefront of your brain, and you're going to notice. It's kind of like when you go buy a new car. I have a black Tahoe. After I got that Tahoe, I saw black Tahoes all over the road. So you guys know that happens a lot. So I'm hoping that that same thing is going to happen, and you're going to really pick up on the negativity that you see and hear coming out of your own mouth and others, and that you are going to be able to cut it out. Complaining is tempting because it feels good, but like many other things that are enjoyable, such as smoking, drinking, eating a pound of bacon for breakfast, eating all the donuts, complaining isn't good for you. Your brain loves efficiency and doesn't like to work any harder than it absolutely has to. That sounds familiar. That's kind of like me. When you repeat a behavior, such as complaining, your neurons actually branch out to each other to ease the flow of information. So this is all very scientific. This makes it much easier to repeat that behavior in the future. So easy, in fact, that you might not even realize you're doing it. How many of us are guilty of that? Like, I'll catch myself like, oh my gosh, I'm being so negative, or I'm being so whiny. Just stop. You can't blame your brain. Who would want to build a temporary bridge every time you needed to cross a river? You wouldn't do that, right? It makes a lot more sense to construct a permanent bridge. So your neurons actually grow closer together, and the connections between them become more permanent. Scientists like to describe this process as neurons that fire together wire together. So repeated complaining rewires your brain to make future complaining more likely. Isn't that interesting? I'm sure that when I was reading this, I was thinking of different people who, as they get older, they become more and more and more negative and more complaining, to the point where it's like, do you ever have anything good to say? Over time, you find it's easier to be negative than to be positive, regardless of what's happening around you. Complaining becomes your default behavior, which changes how people perceive you. And how sad that is for those people who are like that. They don't even realize they're like that. They might wonder why, gosh, nobody wants to go out to lunch with me. Nobody ever wants to meet up for coffee. It's just another thing that they can complain about. But it's no wonder, because all you ever do is complain. So nobody wants to hang around with you. And here's the kicker. Complaining damages other areas of your brain. Research from Stanford University has shown that complaining shrinks the hippocampus. Hippocampus. The hippopotamus. It shrinks your hippopotamus. An area of your brain that's critical to problem solving and intelligent thought. Damage to the hippocampus is scary, especially when you consider that it's one of the primary brain areas destroyed by Alzheimer's. Is that not nuts? This just blows my mind. So complaining is also bad for your health, not just like it's making you literally crazy. It is really bad health-wise. While it's not an exaggeration to say that complaining leads to brain damage, it doesn't stop there. When you complain, your body releases the hormone cortisol. How many of us know what cortisol leads to? That's the stress hormone. It makes us fat. Cortisol shifts you into fight or flight mode, directing oxygen, blood, and energy away from everything but the systems that are essential to immediate survival. One effect of cortisol, for example, is to raise your blood pressure, and blood sugar, so you'll be able to escape and defend yourself. All the extra cortisol released by frequent complaining impairs your immune system and makes you more susceptible to high cholesterol, diabetes, heart disease, and obesity. It even makes your brain more vulnerable to strokes. And when I think of the people in my life that are huge complainers, they're also huge, like literally, which is crazy. The two really do go together. So it's not just you. Since human beings are inherently social, our brains naturally and unconsciously mimic the moods of those around us. You hear us say all the time, you become like the 5 people that you surround yourself most with, right? And that's in person, that's here, that's on social media, because social media is such a huge part of our lives anymore that you don't actually have to be in a room with someone to be negatively, or on the other hand, positively impacted by those people, right? The TV that we watch. Who likes reality TV? I do. I'm a little bit of a junkie. But after reading this article, I am going to have to swear off because, like, I can't unknow this now. But it's no different when you're watching those crazy shows that are inherently hugely negative, because what gets better ratings? Not Love Fest, throwing tables and getting into fistfights and all that nonsense gets bigger ratings. But it's not really much different than you actually being in the room with those people. You are being very negatively affected by what goes on. Gossip is another thing. Oh my gosh. I learned a long time ago that what you say about Sally says a lot more about you than it does about Sally. So if you're ever prone to gossip, just zip your lip. Don't do it. If they're not in the room with you, then you're gossiping about them. Let's see. This process, so the mimicking of the moods, that process is called neuronal. These are a lot of big words for little old me. Neuronal mirroring, and it's the basis for our ability to feel empathy. The flip side, however, is that it makes complaining a lot like smoking. You don't have to do it yourself to suffer the ill effects. That's interesting, huh? You need to be cautious about spending time with people who complain about everything. Complainers want people to join their pity party so that they can feel better about themselves. Think of it this way: if a person were smoking, would you sit there all afternoon inhaling the secondhand smoke? No, you would distance yourself, and you should do the same with those who whine, complain, are filled with negativity, drama, and gossip. So there's always a solution, right? And once you're aware of a problem, that really is the first step to fixing it. So there are 2 things you can do when you feel the need to complain. One is to cultivate an attitude of gratitude. So when you feel like complaining, shift your attention to something that you're actually grateful for. Taking time to contemplate what you're grateful for isn't merely the right thing to do, it actually reduces the stress hormone cortisol by 23%. So let's take a second right now and reduce our cortisol level by thinking or speaking aloud something that you're grateful for. For me, I'm just grateful for good health and for family and for technology and the ability to reach all of you sitting here in my sweats comfortably. So my cortisol has just been diminished by 23%. That's crazy to me. Research conducted at the University of California, Davis found that people who work daily to cultivate an attitude of gratitude experienced improved mood and energy and substantially less anxiety due to lower cortisol level. Anytime you experience negative or pessimistic thoughts, use this as a cue to shift gears and to think about something positive. And in time, a positive attitude will become a way of life. Like those neurons are building that bridge, right? So just as if it was building a negative bridge, you can switch it to the positive. The second thing you can do, and only when you have something that really truly is worth complaining about, which is pretty rare, but problems do arise that, I mean, there's just problems. This is real life. We have issues that come up. We don't have to, melt into a pile of negative nonsense. We can take steps to find a solution. So engage in solution-oriented complaining, and think of it as complaining with a purpose. So have a clear purpose. So before you start your complain fest, think about the outcome that you're looking for. So maybe, I don't know, your car broke down. And instead of just whining and complaining and moaning, oh my gosh, woe is me, this happens all the time, couldn't be a worse time of year, just when we're starting to get ahead, this has to happen. How about thinking about, well, we need to get the car fixed. How are we going to do that? If you can't identify a purpose, then there's a good chance you just want to complain for its own sake. And that's the kind of complaining that we want to boot out of our lives. So start with something positive. And I learned this from Rhonda, actually, sort of knew it, but had never heard a name for it, but it's the sandwich effect or something to that name. It's when you want to give someone constructive criticism, you start it with a compliment like, hey, Jess, you have been rocking out getting those loyal customers. I'm super proud of you. But then you want to throw in that little criticism. So you put that in the middle. I saw you post something about, I don't know, I can't even think right now when I try and think on the fly like that. And I don't want to think of anything negative about Jess, because I know Jess is a rock star. I just saw you post something about another business on your Facebook the other day. We probably don't want to do this because we all know. And then I'm going to end it with, but again, great job with those loyal customers. You set up such a great example to the rest of the team. So you guys have probably all heard it. You've probably done it. I mean, this is a great way to deal with your kids when they're acting up or they've done something naughty. Instead of just focusing on no, you're bad. Compliment, constructive criticism, and compliment. So you're going to start with something positive, and it may seem counterintuitive to start a complaint with a compliment, but starting with positive helps to keep the other person from getting defensive. Because if I came at Jess and said, hey, Jess, you know that crap you posted on Facebook the other day? You should take it down. Well, if somebody talked to me like that or came at me with a negative, I'd be like, shh, my ears have just closed. I am going to disregard everything you have to say, even if it has some validity. I don't care. So you're softening the blow, so to speak. For example, before launching into a complaint about poor customer service, you could say something like, I've been a customer for a very long time and have always been thrilled with your service. Interestingly enough, this exact thing happened to me. I purchased a pair of sunglasses. I've bought probably 4 different pairs of aviators with a bifocal in them from an online company. The last pair I got was manufactured incorrectly, and I was thinking that I was going to have to send them back and go through all of this rigmarole. I thought, you know what, I'm just going to email them and explain the situation. And I started it off with, and I didn't even think about this at the time, but I said, love your online store. I love these sunglasses. I've purchased 3 or 4 pair in the past. They've always been fantastic. You guys ship super fast. Love. But this pair, blah, blah, blah. Got them replaced like that. They were super nice about it. Definitely helps. I could have started it off with, hey, morons, You messed up these glasses. I'm so ticked off. It was very inconvenient for me. I needed them for vacation. You know, who's gonna, they probably still would have replaced them, but it didn't have to go that way. And thank goodness I didn't do that. So then also be specific. When you're complaining, it's not a good time to dredge up every minor annoyance from the past 20 years. Just address the current situation and be as specific as possible. So we all know this from having conversations with spouses or children or parents or whoever. It does sometimes tend to go into, yeah, but remember when you did this 10 years ago? And that's just the same as this. It really doesn't help anything, right? And then you're going to end again on a positive. If you end your complaint with, I'm never shopping here again, I'm never talking to you again, the person who's listening has no motivation to act on your complaint, right? So in that case, you're just venting or complaining with no purpose. And they're probably thinking, thank goodness, I don't want you to shop here anyways. You're so nasty. Instead, restate your purpose as well as your hope that the desired result can be achieved. For example, I'd like to work this out so that we can keep our business relationship intact. So, no different than smoking or drinking too much, lying on the couch, watching TV all day. Complaining truly is bad for you and bad for your health. So put this advice to use and you will reap the physical, mental, and performance benefits that come with a positive frame of mind. This is going to take practice. I know even for me, and I'm aware of it, it's still really easy to fall into that negative trap. And I find myself doing it when I'm really tired or when I'm kind of worn down, or when I'm under a lot of stress. So being more aware of it, and our brain is a muscle just like any other muscle. So if you want your brain to be stronger, you're gonna have to work it, no different than you would like, you know, lifting weights to make your biceps bigger. So practice is going to be the way that you're going to build and train that muscle. So I'll leave you with this. Complaining is like bad breath. You notice when it comes out of somebody else's mouth, but you don't when it comes out of your own. So I just encourage you all to keep those teeth brushed and use your breath freshener.